So why am I doing this carnivore and intermittent fasting thing? That's what we're going to talk about today on Big Anklevich on health. All right, so yeah, this is going to be just part one because when it comes down to it, there's too much to talk about when I'm talking about this issue. But why is it that I'm doing carnivore? And why is it that I'm doing intermittent fasting? I think we kind of have to start out by talking about how I got here. I grew up as a kind of regular-sized child. I was maybe slightly chubby here and there, but for the most part, I was not a big dude. I wasn't the fat kid that got made fun of at school. I was an athletic kid. I was on the football team. I played soccer all growing up. I played games, sports, etc. with my friends outside all the time. I was fine to do that. It wasn't difficult for me because I didn't have issues with weight until later. I do have a little bit of family history of some stuff. Like, for example, this guy right here. This is my grandfather. I've never met this guy. He's a stranger to me. I never got to sit on his lap or do any of those things that you do with grandfathers because my grandfather died when he was 41 years old of a heart attack. 41 years old, he died of a heart attack. Now, he had other health issues that may have contributed to it, but I would say that counts as a family history of heart disease, if anything does. Now, this woman right here is my mother. My mother died when she was 50 of cancer. It's getting to the point where I have a hard time remembering even what she was like. I was only 15 years old when she died. I'm now 45 years old this year. Depressing. And that means that it's been double the amount of time that my mom has been gone that she was ever here for me. So there's a good family history of cancer. But not only that, I have a brother who's had thyroid cancer, and I have a sister who had skin cancer, and that's a lot. That's something that makes you start thinking, what do I got to do to avoid this stuff? Because that's trouble. But that's not it for me, unfortunately. After I got married, I started to put on a fair amount of weight. I didn't want to put on this weight, but I also was not careful about what I ate. There were times that I tried to be careful about what I ate, and so I did what? What would you guess that I did? Well, I followed the food pyramid. I tried to make sure that I was eating, just what they told me to, 6 to 11 servings of breads and cereals, etc. And so, yeah, surprise, surprise, it didn't really work. I did a fair amount of exercising. There were times that I tried to go jogging. I would go walking on my lunch break. A lot of stuff like that, and none of that really made much of a difference in my weight. But I was never worried much about my health. I mean, I was in my 20s. Well, you don't worry about that stuff when you're in your 20s, for the most part. I'm sure there are people out there, but I wasn't one of them. Eventually, there came a time when my wife decided all her friends were doing this wonder drug called HCG. Some kind of a hormone thing that comes from pregnancy, and it's supposed to help you lose a lot of weight. And she wanted to do it, and she asked me to do it with her. So we did it. I don't know if it was the beginning of the end or the beginning of a good thing, to tell you the truth. I lost a fair amount of weight. I lost a lot of weight doing HCG. I eventually gained it back. But it got me in the mindset of thinking that, hey, I could lose weight. I was past thinking, oh yeah, I'll use the food pyramid and lose weight that way. But now I was thinking, hey, this could actually happen. It couldn't before. Nothing happened then. So I decided I needed to try to do that. And I tried being more active, thinking that exercise is going to make me lose weight. It's going to help me stay thin. It didn't help me stay thin. I gained the weight back. Then I did another low-carb diet. We had a weight loss contest at my work. And I did low-carb where I ate every few hours. But I ate low carb every few hours at least. I lowered my calories substantially, and I lost a fair amount of weight. I lost about 40 pounds in that weight loss contest. I won the weight loss contest. That was exciting. I got a whole bunch of money, like more than $200 out of it. So that was cool. And to celebrate, I went out to my favorite pizza place the day that I won and horked down a crap ton of pizza. So yeah, my mindset wasn't quite in the right place yet. But we did have a second weight loss contest immediately after that. And so I went right back to my diet, and I got I got a slightly lower than what I'm at right now. Pretty soon I'll be passing that by and moving on down the road still. But yeah, that was exciting, and I thought I'm going to be a healthy person. That didn't stick around. The weight came back on. I went back up, and I stayed pretty steady at 265 for a long time, instead of all the way down in the 230s, which I was as that weight loss contest came to an end. I tried jogging, and I was also doing CrossFit. I was doing both of those things, intense workouts that you do in CrossFit, and I felt really healthy, but I was also still fat, still overweight, still 260, still 30 pounds heavier than I was at the end of that weight loss contest. And yeah, the CrossFit was not making it come off. I did a half marathon. I was preparing for a marathon. The half marathon was the halfway mark in my preparations. And sadly, for some reason, after the half marathon, it just kind of fell away and I stopped really prepping. So I still haven't run a marathon. That's something that I want to do. I continued running for a couple of years after that, despite being probably heavier than I should have been if I was out running. I kept expecting that all those calories that I burned running to make my weight go down, but it didn't. It never did. It stayed at least at 265. And eventually I started getting a lot of pain in my back from the running that I did. And after a while, I just didn't want to run anymore. It didn't feel good, and so I stopped. And then I guess the running was warding off a little bit of the fatness, because then I gained even more weight. Sometimes I wonder if getting into that diet mentality is what sent me down the road that I guess I'm now on, the road that I was on, because you wouldn't think if I was doing all that stuff to be so healthy that I would have wound up where I wound up. But I did. It's like they talk about with the calories in, calories out diet. Yeah, you lose weight for a time, and then your body adjusts the metabolism down, and it adjusts the appetite up. And pretty soon you just can't keep your calories down anymore. The cravings are too intense, and the output, your calorie burning output is just too low, and the weight comes back on. And your body is just telling you need more calories. And what do you wind up doing? Well, I'll tell you what I wound up doing. I wound up drinking a soda or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. There were times when I would drink an entire freaking 6-pack of half-liter bottles of soda in a day. And on top of that, I'd have a candy bar or 2 or 3. And anything else I could get my hands on. And sometimes I would just get out of control, and then I would think, oh, geez, I got to stop doing this. Look at how fat I've gotten. And I would go back to trying to eat good, trying to eat low carb, drinking lots of protein powder shakes, eating tons of spinach and salad, that kind of stuff. I became well known for the salad. I would get a container, a Tupperware container that was like this big, and I would cut an entire head of romaine lettuce up, put it in there, and I would cut up carrots and tomatoes and cucumbers and celery and onions, and I would put some cheese into it, and I would put eggs into it sometimes, and I don't know. I made the world's largest salads, and I would eat them all day long. And did I get somewhere? No, I didn't. And then what would happen? I would also have myself Code Red to go with it. Yeah, good idea. I couldn't control myself, really, because I was eating salad all day long. I was hungry all day long. So it never worked for me. And eventually, I noticed my vision get really blurry. First, it was just like, oh, I can't read things as well as I used to. The little tiny type on my computer screen is maybe I should, up the font size to something a little bit bigger. And I'm just like, man, it sucks to get old. I'm getting old. Oh, man. And I remember asking somebody who's a little bit older than me and sometimes wore glasses and had vision problems, what is it like when your vision gets bad? Does it come on all at once, all of a sudden, within like the space of a month? You just can't see very well? And I went to the freaking dollar store where they have reading glasses and you can try them on and read the thing on the display to see what strength you need. And at first I just needed a small thing of reading glasses to be able to see better. Pretty soon I needed a really intense one. My vision had gone to crap so fast. I would go to the bathroom all the time. I would have to pee everywhere we went. And I chalked it up to the fact that I drank so much soda. I would drink, 3 liters of soda every day. I would drink, me and my podcast co-host, Rich Outfield, we would go and we would hang out at the fast food joint and talk before we did our podcasts. I would order a regular size soda, 20 ounce, I think is probably what it is. I would refill that thing like 3 times and drink it all before we left, and then refill it once more on the way out the door to take with me and drink while we were recording. So I drank a lot, and I thought, yeah, that's the reason why I have to pee so much. It's not anything else. But yeah, my podcast co-host, Mr. Rich Outfield, also drank a lot of soda along with me. Maybe not quite as much, but he didn't pee all the time. I thought that was weird. And then I noticed that I was losing weight. And hey, I was happy about that. I didn't want to be heavy. It was nice to see the weight going. That seemed weird to me, though, because I was losing weight, but I wasn't doing anything to lose weight. I was still pounding Mountain Dew after Mountain Dew, getting candy bars with my Mountain Dew at the dollar store in the morning for breakfast. I remember one time being so ashamed when I put my stuff on the belt and the checkout lady said, "All right, breakfast of champions here, huh?" Yeah, that was my breakfast of champions. That was a little embarrassing, but I still kept coming back. I still kept drinking this stuff, despite the fact that I was losing weight without even trying. One day, I looked up the symptoms of diabetes, and I looked at the list, and my stomach dropped. And I realized I was there. I had diabetes. I was almost certain of it. I was kind of freaking out. I called my doctor and I set up an appointment to find out. And I had a friend who was a type 1 diabetic. And so she had been diabetic for a large portion of her life. And she had a a blood sugar testing kit. She tested my blood. And my blood sugar was so high that her kit couldn't read it. All it said was high. And she said that her kit went up to 600. An average blood sugar is between 70 and 130. Her kit goes up to 600, and mine was too high to even read that. So I was pretty sure at that point that yes, indeedy, I had diabetes. Sorry, that was pretty bad. Anyways, I went to the doctor the next day, and yes, I was diagnosed type 2 diabetic. And he gave me insulin to take to try and get my blood sugar down. He gave me metformin to start taking. He gave me, I think, a blood pressure medicine to start taking. He gave me a statin to start taking. And he kicked me out the door. He told me to set up an appointment with a nutritionist. Gave me the number for them, and I called and set that up. But in the time being, while I was waiting for my appointment to come around, I just had to do what I thought was best. Now, I knew that blood sugar is got to do with sugar, so I immediately stopped having sugar. I stopped drinking soda. I stopped eating anything that was sweet. I cut it completely out. Sadly, I didn't really know what I was doing because I thought, well, the only thing that I can have for a treat is potato chips or something else that's not sweet, something that's carby but still yummy. So I would do that. I had a lot of Lay's potato chips in that time period because that was my no sugar fix. I did have a very strong dislike for diet soda, but I eventually gave in and tried it, managed to get used to it, and I started drinking diet soda all the time. But I managed to get my blood sugar way down, my A1C way down by way of this. And the good thing was the insulin, my doctor was happy to let me stop using it once I got down to a certain level of blood sugar. And then he upped my metformin, however. And yeah, I took pills every single day. He also wanted me to take an aspirin every day, blood thinner, keep that blood thin so I didn't have a heart attack. Keep the blood pressure down, the blood thin, and get that statin going. Get rid of all that terrible cholesterol. So yeah, that's what I was on. And so there I am. I've had a grandfather who died of a heart attack. I've had a mother who died of cancer, both of them really young. And there I am, right around the same age as both of them, and now I've got diabetes. Diabetes is something that shortens the average person's life by 20 years. And I started hearing all the stories about the people who had diabetes and still ate sugar, still ate whatever they wanted, and eventually lost feet, lost other things, lost vision, all the different things that can happen, all the side effects that can happen if you can't control your blood sugar. And I didn't want that to happen, but I didn't really know how to make it stop. My blood sugar was only being controlled by metformin, and it wasn't necessarily being totally controlled. I was also told by the dietitian when I went to talk to her that I could eat some carbs. It's okay. I could eat some sugar, because who can do without sugar? You can't just do without sugar. That's not a thing. So basically, all the progress that I had made on my A1C, I got it from, when I was diagnosed, it was a 14 plus, meaning 14 is as high as their measurement goes. Mine was above that. I got it all the way down to, I think I was in the neighborhood of a 6.5 or a 7. Pretty decent A1C. I got it all the way down to that, but then slowly it started going back up. And yeah, my doctor didn't think anything of it. I came in after the Christmas season and he did my A1C and it was higher than it had been before. And I was just like, crap. Yeah, I did not do very well these last 3 months. And the doctor's like, this time of year is the worst time for anybody. That's the way it is. And I was like, oh, phew. My doctor's not mad at me, so I can keep doing whatever I want. And eventually I moved away and came out here to Houston. And I went for a year without seeing any diabetes doctor. And I didn't really eat very well. I took my medicine okay, spottily. Sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't. I was not necessarily taking care of myself. And then, one fateful day, I was watching videos on YouTube, and a suggestion came up. And the suggestion said, reversing type 2 diabetes starts by ignoring the guidelines. A TED Talk by Sarah Hallberg.
The attitude that many take, including those in healthcare, is that these people are to blame for their situation. If they could just control themselves, they wouldn't be overweight, and they're not motivated to change. Please let me tell you, this is not the case. The blame, if we've got to extend some here, has been with our advice And it's time we change that.
And let me tell you, that video started the landslide, started the avalanche. It changed my life, turned me around. And I'll talk more about it next time around on part 2 of why I do what I do. How did I get here? How did I get here? This is not my beautiful house. Thanks for watching Big Anklevich on health.